Another big day in the race for president. People in 5 states will go to the polls today as we inch closer to finding out who the nominees will be. NKU political professor Dr. Ryan Salzman is here to break it all down. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
Okay, so this has been crazy. Overall, I think that's a safe thing to say. So we know on the Democratic side that it looks to be Hillary's race to lose at this point.
Absolutely.
By the numbers, right?
I don't even know if she could lose it at this point. When you have 2 candidates, you're almost guaranteed they're all going to get near 50%, give or take. And so she could pretty much sit at home the rest of the time, take in 48% of the vote, and coast to the convention. So she's going to be the nominee.
So to have Bernie Sanders still in the race, is that a good thing or?
I think so. I don't think it's a bad thing. Usually what they'll talk about is the nature of the rhetoric. So if he starts really trying to tear her down, then that could become problematic. But to have something that allows people to vote their conscience, to allow him to stay in it, to keep the dialogue somewhat on them, I think those are probably all positives. So right now the net positive is him staying in.
And plus, if he gets out of the race, then everything kind of quiets down. Yeah. And there's no focus on Clinton.
Right, and no news is bad news. Can you flip that on its head? So we want a reason for it to stay. That's why if Bernie keeps the conversation alive, then that's really good for the Democrats and knowing that there's kind of a counterpoint out there.
All right, well, apparently John Kasich can't eat anything, according to Donald Trump. I mean, talk about that race, because that is just crazy to me.
Well, it is, and it gets crazier by the day with the alliance that was entered into yesterday with Cruz and Kasich. There's a question about whether or not it'll work, but there's also a question of what it is. So Kasich has decided to pull back his operation from Indiana. It's questionable to what extent he had an operation going, really. I mean, he's down to pennies in campaign terms. He has about $1 million or so, but that's not very much money. Cruz has agreed to do something else, but then when Kasich asked, hey, are you telling your supporters to go vote for Cruz? He said, oh, no, I would never tell them how to vote. So it's very, very conflicting, and at the same time, Donald Trump saying, this just proves what I've been saying the whole time. So whose hands is it playing into? Who's going to be benefited? How's this all going to work out? We really don't know, but we do know that today's primaries in Indiana next week are going to actually get us a long way to figuring it out. So I will go on record as saying today's the beginning of the end.
Well, here, my question before we wrap up is, I think a lot of the Republicans nationwide are saying we're not so sure about Donald Trump as a whole representing the party. So at what point do they start to funnel money into Kasich and Cruz?
Well, if they haven't done it yet, I don't think you're going to see it.
Okay.
So I think that the die is cast for the people that are not winning right now. And what we're starting to see, in fact, is a little bit of traction being gained by Donald Trump. Today will go a long way. Can he win as big as they think? And then Indiana, winner take all next week. That's really big, too.
And if he does win today, what they think he'll get?
He will win today if he exceeds expectations and he starts to close the gap. They say that he's about 95% of where he needs to be right now. If he gets himself to 98% of where he needs to be, and then he wins Indiana next week, he'll be right on track to actually get the number of delegates necessary going into Cleveland.
Ryan, always good stuff. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to